the political side of it, and then there's the real story.
There's a lot to unpack right there. It wasn't quite the interview I thought that was going to be.
There's a reason for it.
This will be officially my favorite podcast I've ever done.
Well, I got to say, I've been looking forward to this podcast. Of myself, I always thought I had a pretty eclectic background, but you have one of the most eclectic backgrounds I've seen. I gotta give you a hand. Plus, you look very young, so I have no idea how you have 8 kids, and you're an engineer, a designer, an entrepreneur, a data scientist, a keynote speaker. You're in cryptocurrency. Wow. I would love to know how you got started in the crypto space.
Well, I was introduced to Bitcoin, I think back in about 2010, 2011 by one of my other geek friends. And he just kind of threw it in my face and was like, you need to look at this. And he didn't explain what it was. And I didn't know what it was. And I think I was real knee deep in other tech work at the time. So I didn't pay as much attention to it as I wish I had of. He didn't even explain it was money. So he just gave me a wallet. It was a desktop wallet. It took forever to sync. And I was just trying to figure it out. And then I just put it to the side. And then fast forward, around 2014, I was working on my first startup, my first official startup, and crypto came back up. And that's when I delved back into it at that point.
What made you want to start your own currency, your own crypto?
Well, interestingly, years ago, I looked into starting an alternative currency, community currency, something that we could use in the community, because I was big into the support Black businesses in the community. And especially when I was living in New York and living in Brooklyn, because, we have a lot of little community businesses in Brooklyn, Park Slope here, Flatbush, et cetera. And I was like, it would be really cool if we had our own currency. So I looked into alternative currencies at the time, like things like the Liberty Dollar and stuff like that. And these are currencies that, are tied to, gold, silver, gold, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's going to be impossible. Can't do that because I don't own any gold mines or anything like that.
Right.
So when I got into crypto, it just rang my bell like, oh my God, this is the answer, to what I wanted to do. So it was just kind of a no-brainer at that point.
So when I don't know, does Guap trade? Is it listed anywhere? I know yes. It's on the back of Ethereum. So how is it listed?
Actually, it's not. We have our own blockchain now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they haven't updated the internet. Some places you can go and it'll say we're on Ethereum, but we've had our own blockchain since about 2018.
Wow. And,
yeah.
And is it like a trust, like a centralized trust, or how do you guys control the issuance?
We're not. No, it's not centralized. It's decentralized. The issue is issued with block rewards, et cetera, the same thing. So we didn't have any since we're not on another chain, there was no total supply mined or whatever. It's over time. And we're listed on one exchange, Probit. And the reason why we're listed on Probit is because, quite honestly, Probit was one of the exchanges that, number one, gave us a really good, fair chance. At that time when we were listing, there were a lot of scams, a lot of exchange listing scams, and it was very expensive. And we're probably like one of the very few really organic cryptos out there, meaning that we didn't get any VC money, we didn't get any backing or anything like that. We just built our chain and got out there and appealed to the community.
How is it mined?
We're proof of stake. So it is emitted in the block reward. And originally we were a fork of Dash. And then we moved to forking a platform called PivX, and we built on that from there since 2018. And now we're actually about to launch our layer 2, which will give us smart contract capabilities, and that launches officially tomorrow.
Wow. Well, I got to admit, I learn things new every day. And what are you hoping to accomplish with this crypto?
Well, I'm hoping to leverage our influence. That's one thing. I kind of feel like my community, whether it's minority or whatever you want to call it, I feel like we have a lot of social influence, but we don't get enough back, and we don't retain a lot of the credit for things, and all of that is wrapped up in data, right? So, and me being a data person, I'm like, what better way than to build a better infrastructure in our community than to have a blockchain that can, measure the data of our spending. We're talking about supporting businesses in our community. How do we know how effective we're being without any data? How do we know how effective we're being, how if the businesses are growing, which businesses are not growing? What can we do? Where can we funnel money to without data? But this is what we can do with blockchain.
Well, I got to hand it to you. I don't know a lot of people that have just started one from scratch. It's, there's so many different use cases for blockchain and so many different uses for cryptocurrency. We have one internally in our game, BitNow.com, where our currency state in world for rewards and stuff like this. But how do you hope and envision it's used? Like, do you want it to be used as daily currency where there could be commerce amongst people in your community or across the world? Or do you want it to be used as a store of value? What are you hoping it's going to be used for?
Well, I'm definitely hoping that the layer 1, which is the financial layer, is going to be used as a currency, and that the layer 2 is going to be used to power a Web3 platform that is more educational and equitable to my community, and an array of decentralized finance services, et cetera. And a lot of that built on education, because I do a lot of education. And I feel that what's missing in a lot of the chains out there is the people, the actual people aspect of it. And I don't want people, the common people, quote unquote, to just be dragged along on another financial system that they're supposed to, quote unquote, believe in, but know nothing about, and are incapable of leveraging the true power of that chain and not just be a consumer.
When I saw a post on Instagram of you being in the metaverse, was that Horizon?
No, that was Spatial. I got one in Horizon as well. I do build in Horizon as well. But if you've seen the latest one, it was Spatial.
Was Spatial. Got it. And does that require a headset?
No. That's the reason why I do both Horizon and Spatial, because Horizon requires a headset, but Spatial is accessible to all devices. So I'm building in Spatial as well. So that's where I do like our conference work. I'm going to be doing a lot of our education there, and some of our, our remote meetups, et cetera.
The Spatial browser, well, it has an app, so.
Yes, it's also browser accessible. It's browser accessible. It has a mobile app, and it also is compatible with the Meta
MetaMask.
Meta headset. I'm used to calling it Oculus. It's not called Oculus anymore.
We built our metaverse, BitNow.com, on a metaverse platform called Meetkai, which is truly only browser, but you can use a headset, fully browser accessible. There's no app of any kind. It's all in the browser. So it's an ever-changing, very changing, fast world, very quickly.
Yeah.
Is your coin, so how does your coin interact with whether it be Spatial or Horizon, or does it not interact? Is it usable there?
Well, currently Spatial has token gating with NFTs, but they're only, right now, they only have Polygon and Ethereum. But, where everything is moving to being more interoperable. So I imagine, within the short-term roadmap, they'll probably open up to everything else that is EVM or Ethereum virtual machine compatible, which we are. So it'll probably take a little bit, but we should be able to use our token gate as well.
What's your background? I mean, you sound like a scientist, or an engineer. Can we talk about your background a little bit? How you got into this?
So I've been in tech. I've been like a computer geek my whole life.
Really?
But I'm also an artist. So, it was split. My early years was split between art and development. So I've been a graphic artist. I've been a developer, and I love both of them. I definitely love graphic arts. It was a break from development, but I started in e-commerce. I started development in e-commerce, working on open source e-commerce platforms, working with small businesses, building their e-commerce platforms, and also working with open source platforms in terms of, I guess you could say, fixing code and creating modules and all that stuff like that. So I did that for a while. Started my first development company back in 2004. It was more entertainment based. So some of our clients were Samuel Jackson, later on Steve Harvey, et cetera. And then I got into data, just like pure data, and I started working for the government. I was working for the Department of Veterans Affairs as a software engineer and mainly doing database stuff. And I started my first startup in 2014, which was a company called Safe to Meet, which I built a platform which was supposed to be the world's first peer-to-peer verification platform, verify that you're safe in less than 5 minutes. Partnered up with a lot of verification platforms like LexisNexis, et cetera. And that's when I discovered that Black women don't get funding. They loved us. We was kind of like a darling. I got a lot of news coverage, especially because there were, at the time, there were like Craigslist killers and stuff like that. But we started trying to go for money and go for VC money so that we could scale out of our MVP. And we weren't successful in doing that, despite the fact we won pitches, we won this, we won that. And that's when I started looking at blockchain as a potential alternative for raising capital, even for our startups. So I had a couple of colleagues that had blockchain companies, met some people that had blockchain companies and were raising money through their blockchain company. And I was like, wow, look at that. And then we're also an identity platform. So, it fits, we can start, doing our identity stuff on the blockchain. However, my company was like a lot of we did have a board, and it was a lot of older people who knew nothing about blockchain and were like, what is this? No. It was
I experience that all the time. All the time I experience that.
Yeah, it was a big no. So I essentially quit my own startup. I walked out and I started Guapcoin.
You said that Black women don't get funded.
Yeah, the numbers are abysmal.
That you got my head spinning when you said that. I was thinking about, can I name a startup run by a Black woman that's been funded by the VC community? I'm sure I've seen one, but the fact that I'm stretching so hard to find one means that what you're saying is resonating with me. That's probably a big issue. I really didn't think about that till you just said it. But can you think of any that have been funded with having a strong women leader?
Well, it's improved slightly, because now you have like capital firms, like you got Backstage Capital with Arlen Hamilton, and she's actually at the time, a little bit after me, she started this It's About Damn Time fund for Black women.
Right.
And so she started bringing more attention to the fact that Black women weren't getting funded at the time. It was a little bit after me. So I think she has a portfolio of companies, but I know they don't have like an extraordinary amount of capital neither. One of my good friends, she has a company called Popcom, and she's actually one of the first Black women to raise money through a token sale. And she raised I think a couple of million for Popcom through a token sale, but that was a crowd fund. Still wasn't VC backed. And
Wow.
she's still actually crowdfunding, really. I still haven't seen a VC anywhere like literally write her, a check, So I don't honestly, I don't know anybody right now. I don't personally know anyone.
I'm going to definitely look into that. I usually, I used to follow heavily what the VCs were funding, but, I know how hard it is to get a woman on our board of directors as a public company. It's just, I think people think that it's easy, but it's not. One that is educated, has the time, wants to dedicate the resources of being on the board. I can't imagine it's, well, I mean, not getting funded, that would not be good.
What we wind up having to do, aside from bootstrap, is like work 2 or 3 jobs or whatever, because it's like amazing what I've been able to accomplish. And I'm looking at my other colleagues who started blockchains and they've gotten funded for 50 to 100 million and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow. And they still haven't really achieved much of their roadmap. But I kind of look at it like this. I think maybe it's like this because it kind of keeps me pure, because there's a lot that goes on in the blockchain world. People that get funded, they do things like buy the market, and they buy the exchanges. So therefore they price fix and all of that stuff. And now people are starting to get into trouble for that. So I kind of look at it like, maybe it's a layer of protection to be, so organic or whatever. But yeah, this is what it is.
I think of all that you're doing in crypto and what you're working on, and then I think of the fact that you have 8 kids and you look incredibly young. So how do you balance that? I'd love to hear that.
Well, I'm almost 50.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
good
48.
for you. You've been blessed with good looks and looking youthful. So that's good. I mean, wow. So
I kind of think of it as because I got a little kind of a girl geek kind of mind. So, and I'm a gamer and I'm a this and I'm a that. So I think all of that kind of keeps me young. But my kids, they're great because they're they're so different and they help me to be able to deal with the differences in the world. They all have different opinions. They're very strong opinions. I have one who is a son who's totally against capitalism. Then I have another son who is probably the biggest capitalist I ever met. And so we have the most interesting debates in the house.
I bet.
About money, about economics, about what we can do, what you should do. So I kind of look at them as like my advisors, and they keep me open to other opinions and stuff like that.
The one that's against capitalism, does he ever present you an alternative? Because I'd love to hear it.
Well, it's funny because he's the geek. He's probably my twin. He has a game development company. He's 19. He's been developing games for Roblox since he was 13. So he's very, I guess you could say, worldly because, they live in the Discord and they talk to people all over the world. He loves crypto. He loves the idea of crypto. And I tell him, I said, well, there's a lot of capitalist, a little capitalist edge to your mom. But he was like, but you're a mom. So he said, I trust you more than the other quote unquote capitalists out there. Yeah.
I have a daughter who's 17 and she's definitely on Discord and she's definitely connected all over the world. I'm reading your mail there. I understand exactly what you're saying when it comes to, she is definitely not a capitalist and the other 3 kids are capitalist. So did you buy Bitcoin back in 2010, 2011, or did you just look at it like all of us?
Yeah. The friend that introduced me, he was mining Bitcoin, but he was mining it on his job's computer. So when he lost his job, he had a real big upset in his life at that time. Lost his job, he lost access to that computer and that mining. So that's something that he talks about all the time still. But no, I didn't buy any. I didn't get any Bitcoin. It's funny because I told people to get Bitcoin back in 2014. And the people who didn't get Bitcoin, those are the ones that came after me because they was like, they were like, you were so right. You were so right. You know, you're so smart. You know what you're talking about, but I didn't get any neither. But after a while, I did get a little bit. I actually had more Ethereum than anything. And I lived off of Ethereum for a while.
Oh, wow.
So that was, yeah. So, and I got to have that experience. And I think it was a really good experience because I realized that when I have fiat, how much, fiat just goes in one hand and out the other. But when you had crypto at that time, it was much harder to spend. So I was like, you know what? This is actually good for us, because when we're spenders, we can't spend as fast as we normally do. So we get to be better savers. So I was like, that's another plus for for crypto.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, you don't have the same access to liquidity. Well, you do now. It's pretty.
Yes, it's a little easier
Coinbase has
now.
made
Yeah.
it pretty prevalent
Yeah.
for sure. So what's the next thing for your coin? Is that the major thing you're pushing, or what are you pushing?
The next thing is the Web3 is building out this entire ecosystem because I strongly believe in Web3. I believe that blockchain, of course, is going to finally have its place dealing with decentralized identity, ownership, property ownership, especially with AI, because I'm in AI too, and I'm also an AI artist. So, I realized the whole issue of ownership and not even just ownership of property, but ownership of yourself, self-sovereign ownership is going to be a big thing. Now, especially since they can not only clone you, but they can clone your voice, And so what is going to disrupt that? Well, what's going to disrupt that is the technology that allows you to own these things and potentially lease out your voice and charge royalties. And all of that can be done within a decentralized application.
They are. There's no question they can clone your voice. I have a media team that will make a copy of my voice sometimes when they want to do a correction. And I've been hearing about these scams where they clone someone's voice and then they call the parent. Really terrible things. I mean, AI is the level of. This is why I kind of buy into Elon Musk's simulation, because the level of things that can be done is insane. I wanted your thoughts on singularity. Do you think that we're headed to a spot where we can't tell the difference?
Yeah. I don't know. I think honestly,
That was a
see the
hedge.
thing.
That was a hedge.
See, the thing is, I'm also a spiritual person. So, and I feel like it'll force us as AI grows, I think we may also grow, how much of our brain we actually use, how much do we actually know, internally. So I don't think that AI is just going to scale and we're not going to scale because as I've been doing this, I feel like I've scaled, like the older I get, I feel like the smarter I'm getting, and I'm like, I'm like, if I could do that, I imagine how it's going to impact the world. So I think we tend to leave ourselves out of the equation, and I have a lot of faith in humanity.
This AI art is crazy. I've been seeing some pretty crazy stuff. Is every piece of AI art unique? Is there never another one created exactly the same? I don't really understand it. I know people are doing it, but is it all unique, every piece?
Yeah, for the most part, because the way that it's generated, you're talking about so many different microscopic elements to come together to make a piece of artwork. So yeah, it tends to be unique. And I've noticed working with it, I've noticed that, first of all, it's not easy. It's not as easy as people think it is. I've gotten to be what you call a prompt engineer, but it's interesting because I'm also a data scientist, So I know about modeling, I know about data modeling and training, training data. And I think the more you know about these things, the better you do with that type of thing on the front end. But it's not easy. But when you do actually get really good at engineering, you come up with some really, really, really unique and beautiful things. A lot of people have seen my artwork that I've done, and they're like, "Wow, like, how do you do that?" Even with just prompts, But it's like everything with computing. Everything takes some level of skill, and the more skill you have in something, the further you can go with it.
I'm going to change topics with you, and it may be one you'll want to talk about, but I've been in the mood to have this conversation, and you're kind of the perfect person to have this conversation with. You're a female, you're African American, you have 8 kids, you're a scientist, an engineer, an entrepreneur, a data scientist, an artist, you've created your own business, you've done startups. That in itself is pretty amazing. And then you see what's happening with, I don't even know how to describe it, but I'm referring to this Bud Light thing, where this Dylan Mulvaney thing happens. And my question to you is not about, listen, I think people could do whatever they want. It's not my business whether you want to be a male or female, this or that. But I started paying attention to it recently because I'm thinking to myself, I think I'm buying into a little bit that actually when someone just says they can do that, they're just demeaning. It's another way of men basically saying, I don't know if I really buy into this yet, but I'm just going to say it. Like, they're basically telling women we can do whatever we want, right? Because,
Yeah.
and I just wondered, like, from a woman who's done all these things, right, have all these accomplishments, which I think the most important one, in my personal opinion, is the fact that you've given birth to 8 kids and raised a family. I think that's amazing. The fact that you're an engineer and an entrepreneur is amazing. I mean, I'm at awe that my wife can even do what she does. So you're just superwoman. But I wonder, what do you think of this idea that maybe if it's in some weird way, it's men like just deciding, well, we'll just do whatever we want to women again?
Yeah. We definitely have been coming up against that because it seems like we, as women, we've had to fight to get so far. And now we're having to fight like some old battles again, and it's not even just that. I mean, here we are revisiting abortion and revisiting this and revisiting that. So it seems like we're going backwards again and fighting forward, But I think that opposition brings innovation, I guess, from the technical side of things. Opposition always brings more innovation, more solutions. And I'm a solution-based person. I'm not the type of person that'll sit back and say, oh, well, this is wrong, and leave it at that. Well, let's see if we can come up with a solution to this. Let's see if we can honestly address it, because I'm big on honestly addressing things, Anybody who's willing to honestly address it, I don't care what political party you are. If we're all willing to sit and honestly address it, then I'm with it, and to do something about it. But yeah, it does have a heavy layer of, I guess we call patriarchy. That's what we like to say in the community. It has a heavy layer of that on it because, again, people are now dictating and defining what women are, but not including women in that definition, or not including women in the process of defining what womanhood is.
Well, I got to say that's a good answer. Probably one of the best I've heard. And I watched a lot of, shows on TV, which are all kind of gobbledygook in the same thing. So what's the solution in your opinion, or do you have one?
Well, first of all, the solution is women. Maybe we come to these times where we have to speak up a little louder and a little stronger. And I honestly feel like we don't like to fight. I know as people might say about us, but I think we lean towards the side of not really wanting to fight. So every so often a fire gets lit under us, so we got to come together and we got to push a little harder. We got to push back and lay down the law, I guess you could say, like I do at my house with my kids.
It is a little bit of a sad day, regardless of what side you are on the abortion side, pro-life or pro-choice, that we just can't be pro-woman and let the woman decide what she wants to do. I don't quite get why we're still talking about this. I mean,
right? My thing is a lot of what we do that I have a problem with is just there's a lot of hypocrisy, you know, and it seems just really political because somebody will feel this way about this, but then they won't. There's a comparable situation that they are wildly varied in opinion. So and it's like the same thing, So it just shows you that it's like, well, I'm gonna pick and choose what I want. I'm gonna pick and choose what I want to stoke, and a lot of it always kind of goes back to financial, the financial reasons of why we're going to stoke this side and not stoke this side. I guess you say the capitalism, like my son will say, why we're going to stoke these fires, but leave these fires, leave these fires burning.
Yeah, I kind of know what you mean by picking and choosing. I had a relative, she had an affair, and she was deeply Catholic. So she broke, obviously, her religion, had an affair, and got pregnant, and then said, I'm not going to get an abortion because I'm Catholic. So I was like, so you just picked the one you like. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Listen, I'm super appreciative of your time and pretty in awe of, I always learn something new. I never heard the term BIPOC in my whole life. I learned that today. But what's empowering about that for you? Because you clearly want to accomplish something, and I kind of get that, is that you're just trying to bring awareness that this is happening. You want to make things available to yourself, and you brought up a really important point: is that how are Black women getting funded in VC and business? So really, that's probably one of the most troubling things I've heard. I didn't really think about it until you brought it up. And that's obviously bringing awareness to the case. But I'm curious as to what you hope to accomplish in the next couple years. And then I want to come back to AI when we finish up.
Well, I actually hope to onboard I hope to spark the mass adoption of cryptocurrency. And in order to do that, you gotta work with the people, So I hope to be able to impact the people globally, because even though, I'm pushing for, of course, educating and, I guess you could say leveling the playing field for, people of color, cryptocurrency doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? Eventually it's going to touch everybody, but I kind of look at it like music, like hip hop, Hip hop was a black genre, but everybody loves hip hop today, And that's how I see cryptocurrency and Guapcoin. I'm like, we're pushing to make sure that we don't leave behind Black folks. But at the same time, this is something that could impact people globally. When I first launched Guapcoin, I got calls from Mexico. People from Mexico like, wow, I really love what you're doing. How can we do that here? And that type of thing. So that was the type of thing that kind of kept me driven, and also opened my eyes to the fact that this is not just going to be a limited movement. This is going to be something global, So again, but the big thing that's missing is trust, And people are, I know my Bitcoin maxis, they say, oh, it's trust in the software. But yeah, if you're a geek, you trust in the software. But if you are not a geek, you don't trust in the software.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they don't get it, So you still got to build trust with the people. You can't leave the people out there. The people have been abused so much. You can consider it as like dealing with abuse victims, you know what I mean? And you got to earn, and you got to earn back their trust. And that's a big job. So that's the job that I want to take on. I want to take on the job of earning the people's trust so that they come into this willingly, and then they also come in an empowered way.
What do you think about, what I see is this convergence of AI. Today, Google announced that they're merging their AI units internally. You got OpenAI working with Microsoft and $10 billion of funding. You got Elon Musk with his own XAI, this big convergence. He's saying, let's take a 6-month break. I bet he is. I love the guy.
I bet. That's the same thing I said. I bet.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love Elon Musk. In fact, I'm a subscriber to his new, on Twitter. He's got this subscription service.
Though.
But to say let's take a break. Does that mean he's going to take a break too?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm curious as to what you think of. To me, there's always these themes that are happening in the investment world, but especially technology. And I got to tell you, this is a huge, rolling topic. I use it every day now, ChatGPT. It is
Me too.
it is a tidal wave coming. Like it's everywhere, but it's nowhere yet. It's just getting started. They got 100 million daily users, but they're just getting started. What do you envision happening with AI?
Well, I definitely envision it moving to other devices. You know, IoT is probably going to give life to IoT, you know, because that's something I think that just died in the water for a little bit. But I think it's going to bring life to you know, other devices outside of just computing. Definitely robots, et cetera.
Right.
You know, I ordered my first little Amazon little robot thingy. And you know, I'm excited. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the first person to sign to sign up for that. But I'm also a mom, and everything out here helps. I try to run my life efficiently. So anything that can help me run my life efficiently, I'm with it. I'm gonna sign up. And I know that there are millions of moms out there like me who agree, you know. But I think that yes, the next move is you're going to see AI, you know, take form in everything else, all of the other devices. AI connected to your refrigerator, you know, knowing what you're eating and counting your calories for you and suggesting what is a better suggestion, and then ordering the food to actually go in there. We're just about there, you know? Yeah. So, and ChatGPT now with plugins that are ordering, that's going to be in your refrigerator next, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm freaked out about it. I'm freaked out. Hey, we're going to watch your Guapcoin. I got to be honest, you never even heard the term guap until today. My assistant said to me, yeah, that's a term. It means money. So I guess I'm 53 and you're going to be 50, yet I'm not as hip as you are. I'm with you, by the way. I'm
from New York. We're like born hip.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, I appreciate you being on the show, and I'm sorry we had to cancel last time. It's been a little bit hectic. But how can people, if they want to get part of your movement, if they want to talk to you, they want to communicate with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, you can go to guapcoin.org, or you can go to tavoniaevans.com. You can get to me on social media. Unfortunately, there are many clones of me on social media, and they're scammers. So you got to be careful when you're just Googling or looking up Crypto Diva or Tavonia Evans or whatever. You can thank, you know, those social media platforms for that. However, that's another reason why we're moving most of our stuff to the metaverse, because it's again, you'll be able to interact, you know, more directly with us in those settings rather than just, you know, on social media. So you can find us on Spatial. If you go to guapcoin.org, or you go to the Guapcoin Instagram or Guapcoin Twitter or Tavonia Evans Twitter, I'll usually be posting links there where you can come into our spatial environments, and we have meetings and, you know, conventions and summits and everything. So yeah, that's the best way.
Well, hopefully you'll be on bitnow.com. We're in the metaverse too. We built on the Meetkai platform. We're pretty proud of it. We have about 1 million active users so far, maybe 1,100,000, pretty close, and we're in 176 countries. So me, like you, we're trying to do things that are a little different. Tavon, I appreciate you being here. It was fun.
Thank you.
And I'll follow you for sure. We'll stay in touch. I'm sure Christy, our producer, will stay in touch with you, and good luck with the coin and what you're doing in technology with AI. It's going to be fun. I'm sure we'll come back and you and I will talk about where we are today versus where AI is 6 months from now.
Oh, wow. It's going to be exciting.
All right. Take care. Take care of yourself.
Okay. Thank you.
Be well. Be well.
You know, I'm going to explain it to you real quick.
But don't
We're rolling out